Hello again, Billy here. Welcome back to another episode of the Log Talk podcast brought to you by Pertinier Outdoors. So this is day 3 recap of our PA hunt. So hope everyone enjoys this one and that you've been enjoying the series. This one is going to be a soggy one. It was pretty damn wet the last day we were there. And so this was recorded on it would have been the 14th of December. So this would have been the close of the PA rifle season. So we recorded this on the way out of the woods and kind of wrapped up the hunt per se and had a little fun along the way. So I hope that everyone's enjoying kind of the full candor and the back and forth between the guys and me listening back to this. You can sense kind of how everybody was gaining comfort with each other, especially AJ and Mike and Danny. The three of them haven't spent a whole lot of time together, so it was really fun, going through the end of day 1, the end of day 2, the end of day 3, and just hearing how everybody's loosening up, feeling comfortable busting each other's chops, and really having a great time with each other and enjoying each other's company. So good stuff there. Hope you listen to this one, and then immediately following, I'll be releasing the kind of the group recap of the hunt that we had. I mentioned that we've got it was back at the camp on Saturday night with everybody there. So we were just kind of, chewing the fat, kind of talking with a few of the other guys in camp, kind of getting their opinions of the hunt and what they thought. And it definitely got a kind of a good closing to that. So I will leave it there. Enjoy the podcast, and I will have more for you on the next one. Thanks.
Tard said he didn't see a single
Lemony
buck.
Snickets?
Get your microphones, kids.
Hold your butts.
You and your...
You know the rules.
Can't even squeeze that.
Danny, run the show.
Alright, quite the day today, right, boys? It's pretty nice weather out today,
It was
if I must say so myself.
Beautiful Pennsylvania weather today.
My hands are pruned.
Do you want to give a description of what the weather's been today, Danny?
I'll say, it's snowing currently. Truck says 36 degrees.
It just dropped about 10 degrees.
We pulled in, and it was about 38 to 40. It started raining, and it didn't stop for the last 6-7 hours. It's been raining straight, so it's been fun. I think all of us are soaked.
It wasn't a light rain
close to
either.
the
It was a
bone.
pretty heavy rain.
It was a soaker.
It's one of those days that really makes you rethink your rain gear. I'm really rethinking my rain gear today.
Oh, you didn't think your Hunchback of Notre Dame poncho was the right decision?
It was actually a perfect decision. That was maybe the best piece of gear in my pack that I had today.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How much did you spend on that?
Not a lot on Amazon. I got that for Colorado 3 years
So
ago.
for the listeners that didn't see you walking across the driveway, can you describe the equipment, the piece of equipment you bought?
So it's actually a tarp with grommets on all 4 corners.
Camo tarp.
Camo tarp, and it has a hood right in the center of it with snaps on the sides. So it's a multi-use tarp / poncho.
And you wore that
I wore
over
it
your pack
over my pack
with your orange vest.
with my orange vest over the top of the poncho.
Wrapped around. It was quite the sight.
And I'm probably the driest guy in the bunch,
Yeah, you probably are.
potentially.
My upper body's good. My lower body is freaking soaked. Yeah.
I think we should thank an additional sponsor for today's trip. Where'd you get your new sneaks there, Bill?
What new sneaks?
They've done real well on the icy terrain.
Oh, my tires.
Yeah.
A Turo. Trailblade XTs.
Thank you, El Toro.
Yeah.
And,
Thanks for knockoff tires that are really performing well. I'll tell a friend.
We're on forest roads back here, 1 lane for the most part, and they are what I would call a skating rink.
Pure ice.
It is pure ice.
Bobsled run.
Can barely walk on them.
The Trailblades they're just digging.
We're having a good run right now.
Mean diggers.
So,
Mean diggers.
All right, from the start, we had a pretty good first drive, I guess. Mr. T, Tard, was telling me him and Dallas and Clayton had a booze-filled discussion on that hunt last night at like 11 o'clock.
Really?
And they planned that like it was a late night booze-filled hunt plan, and it ended up being perfect.
It was perfect.
So we pushed down a valley to a group of sitters, and it ended up turning out pretty good. I didn't see much. Mike was kind of next to me. Mike.
Yeah,
First
I
push.
came into the day, and it's just one of those days I felt it from the get-go. I knew it was going to be a good day deep in my loins, and was all ready for it. I knew it was going to be some adverse weather conditions, and I didn't see shit all day.
You didn't?
Nope.
You didn't see? Did you not see? Well, you saw those 4 does.
Saw some 4 doe.
So
I waited for the buck to come out after him.
it never happened. So I kind of give a rundown on the first drive. So like Danny said, we had all the sitters. We had a few sitters up on top of this drainage, and then Brian and Bob were down on the bottom, right on the very bottom by the creek, where kind of all these drainages kind of came together and pinched. And then there was 5 or 6 walkers, I think 5 walkers, and they were pushing down the main drainage. And right off the bat, they started getting some deer moving, and it was probably they were about 3/4 of the way through that drive, and down on the bench below me, I was up on a real steep point right above Brian and Bob, and I just caught some movement right down on this bench below me, probably 150 yards, and it was a small buck. It was not a legal buck, and he kind of moved along, and I came over the radio to tell Bob and Brian there was a buck.
Oh,
coming.
hold on, stop.
Back on track here.
Back on track. So we're on the first drive. I'm up on the point above Bob and Brian.
Deer were moving downhill.
And the deer, okay, so that's where I was.
Yeah.
So the deer on the bench, and I told Bob and Brian that there was a buck coming, looked like a small buck, not a legal shooter. So that deer ended up squirting down through, but then very shortly after, a nice 8-point came walking into the drive, which has happened a couple times to us here this weekend. And this buck walked right up behind Bob, stopped at 40 yards, and Bob hammered him. So he came over the radio and said he had a good buck down. And then about a minute later, I look up out on that same bench, and I see another deer coming, a little bit dark, better body deer, dark, real dark, and the rack, I could tell it had a rack. So it was kind of just moseying along through. So I came over the radio to tell Brian there was another buck coming down towards him. And it was pretty funny because he came over the radio and he's like, "Where are they? I'm not seeing them." And I mean, he barely got done saying, "I'm not seeing them," and all of a sudden, you just hear him start shooting, and he shot 3 times, and
Bang!
easy, Michael. That was loud. That was.
It's a gunshot.
That was a gunshot, yeah. So on the 3rd shot, he did put him down, and so Brian got a buck down too. So Brian had it's an 8-point, but not real big tines. He's got small brow tines and kind of about a yearling buck, about like mine, but nice buck, good PA mountain buck. So that was the end of the first drive, and so then I guess do you want to?
It took us a little while. We had to regroup. I can't even. The funny thing is, we use those rhinos, and I can't even hear what's going on down with you guys. I don't even think you guys could hear what I had going on.
No.
So
Today was horrible.
It was the
Yeah.
elevation, I think, because we were so high and so spread out. They were huge drives.
Yeah. Theme we got going on here this weekend is we killed a lot of bucks down in the bottom of some crap holes that just
Nobody's in.
Yeah, nobody's in. We have Garmin radios that are not cheap, and they do not work all the way down to the bottom if you're on the top sitting or anything. So I ended up just kind of hanging out for a while, and me and Mike, it was actually pretty nice. We got back to the truck. We took a little snoozer nap. We were listening to some music with Sean T, and the guys ended up coming up with
See a new rapper?
with
Sean
2
T.
bucks eventually. And that was the end of the first drive, so it was pretty good. Two buck drive. We regrouped. That was good. Regrouped. I think we had a little bit of food in us, and we decided to do
cold. It's so cold.
So then we actually did the first drive of the week where Billy shot his buck again, and we got into it right away.
Yeah.
Peter Michael lets off 4 shots.
Does anybody know what happened? Mike, do you know what happened there? Was Pete on the way in and he had those deer?
So it was Dallas, Pete, and I. We walked all the way down. We dropped Pete off where to go, and he kind of said, find a spot in here. You're going to probably drop down a little bit. And then Dallas and I headed back up that other side hill, and when we were walking, actually we were standing there talking, and Dallas goes, "Oh, was that movement?" But it was hard to tell because it was raining pretty hard, and we didn't really see anything, didn't think much of it. And then we continued up that side hill, and shortly after Dallas dropped me off, he headed down to the bottom to start pushing, and Peter Michael, he was not even, he goes, "I was just working to get in position, and I see some movement, pulled up, and shot 3 times. There was 2 bucks, one smaller one and one bigger one. He shot at the bigger one. Thought he hit it, saw it flinch, but he said it was 160, 170 yards, but he was pretty beat up over it, and I don't know if he's how he's going to fare tonight, because I don't know if the guys are going to let him live it down.
Yeah, we're going to give him a razzing, right?
No, it already started.
On the way,
did?
Yeah, Brian,
on the way back,
Brian was on him.
On the way back, I was walking with him, and he was pretty bummed, and I said,
Take Wild
Peter,
Boy, you think?
Probably a terrible idea.
Probably not a good idea.
I tried to console him a little bit. He was pretty beat up, and I said, "Hey, Peter, it's all right, man. That was a long shot." He goes, "I know, I should have had him. I don't need any more deer." I said, "Yeah," and then we started talking about some of our long shots that we've had through our years of hunting, and I think he forgot about it. He remembered the good times, and we get back to the truck, and Brian pulls up, and immediately he says, "Peter, I am disappointed in you." And Peter looked like Eeyore, slouching around, just real bummed. So we'll have to feed him some liquor, get him back smiling.
Help him forget.
Did he happen to mention if it was how big it was, or
He said it was a nice buck, and then he thought it ran over to Chris, and Chris said, "Yeah, it was a nice 8-point," but Chris lobbed some lead at him, and he'd no luck either. Pretty.
Coming from somebody who says keep shooting till they're down, he only lobbed one bullet.
That was. Hold on a second. I got to backtrack here for. I thought Pete let off 4 shots.
3.
So then Chris let off 1.
Yep.
And then Chris let off another one later on.
No, he only shot one.
He shot once
There
later on.
there was a single shot later on,
Yeah.
right in the middle of our drive, that I thought was Crispy shooting at. He said a nice 8.
Yeah, that was the one that Peter shot at.
Okay. So Pete didn't shoot 4 times?
I think he only shot 3 times.
Oh, good. All right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So there's still a shot in there that's unaccounted for.
There's been a little bit of that this weekend. There's some people that aren't
Fessing up?
fessing up. Because, we're hearing a lot of shots, and there's a lot of people that haven't said anything.
I think there's
I will fess up to
definitely
shooting. I don't care.
Yeah.
a little bit of. There's a lot of us in the group, and it's like, oh, maybe I could let off a shot here, and nobody would know.
Clayton said he didn't shoot.
I thought it was Clayton when it went off. I thought it was Clayton. Just looking at the map.
What a great name. He's the only Clayton I know.
I might know like one other Clayton.
I know
but
several Clayton. No, I know
He's definitely
2
a
Claytons.
Clayton too.
Yeah, he is a Clayton.
Like you look at him and I'm like, oh yeah, he's a Clayton.
So on that last drive, I was one of the walkers up on the top of the side that we had loaded up. I think we had 5 guys on that side of the hill.
4. Brad went to the other, right? So
Okay, so there was you on the bottom, AJ, and then Brian, Bob,
and you.
Jim, and me. So we had that side hill pretty well covered, and I'm coming along the top. I'm right on kind of a little ledge. There's a lot of good deer signs, some buck rubs, and the ledge drops off down onto a steep side hill, and then it benches off again. So I was kind of just working that ledge around, and this ledge has got a little bit of a knob, and I'm coming around the knob, and I'm watching down because I'm expecting the deer to be coming up from the bottom where the pushers are, and I I look to my left, and it's pouring rain. I'm wearing my hood, so I really don't have much peripheral. So I turned my head to the left to look, and just out in front of me, and 15 yards away, there's a buck standing there, just staring down the hill. And I'm like, what the? And it startled me because I wasn't expecting to see a deer standing there. So it had no clue I was there. And looking, when I got to where the deer was standing and looked back to where I was, like, I kind of popped up out of nowhere, so deer never would have seen me. And so he was watching down the hill. I think he was watching the pushers going across the side hill below. And he just stood right up out of his bed because he would look like he was tired. His eyes were like barely open, and he was like kind of just blinking real slow. And so I stood there for 5 minutes.
How close were you?
Like
to this?
15 yards. It was
Whoa.
crazy. I've been that close to deer, but not one that had no.
How big was?
It was the same buck.
It was.
So he had.
You didn't say it.
He only had his. He only had his left side.
Yeah.
And he was heavy. It was a good beam, good mass, but he just had a fork. It was it. No brow tine.
We'll save him for next year.
Yeah.
Save
We
him
let
for
her go.
next year.
Let him go. For
I
last
marked
year.
his bed on the Garmin, and we'll be back. But
Rise and shine.
yeah.
Boom!
Good night, mister. Hopefully he's got both sides next year. But yeah, so he kind of spooked and ran off straight ahead. I started grunting at him to see if I could get him to at least acknowledge I was there.
How did the grunt go?
I went,
Pretty good at it.
was my tending grunt.
Yeah. I tend with the same grunt.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Should we get into that, or should we let that be?
No, I think that's another podcast.
That's another podcast.
We're gonna need more time.
Well, I don't think that belongs on
We should have
this podcast.
better acoustics for that podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Danny's Mating Sound podcast.
Yep.
Brought to you by
Daniel's Mating Sounds. Brought to you by KY.
Mouth calls.
So that was pretty much the day. We wrapped up the rest of that drive, and unfortunately there wasn't a ton of deer in there. I mean, it seemed like there was deer in there. I don't think anybody saw any does, did they?
No.
I
It's all bucks.
I saw two at the end, right before the road. I'm not sure what they were.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they were does. Chris thinks they were his 8-pointer.
The first area I was in today, I've never seen that much scat in my life. Like, I'm talking, you were with me.
Oh,
Mike.
yeah.
Like, I don't know if you feel the same way about that, but it was unbelievable.
There were some.
how much.
When I was walking the cherry trees on the side ridge on the third drive on the first day, that was completely absurd. The sign in there, but this was a close second with the amount of time that was getting spent up there by some deer.
So, Mike, this is your first year, but the first hunt today, I think, is amazing. They used to hunt that years ago, and they stopped hunting it for a while. Like Bob said, they used to go back there 10 years ago.
I thought that was
we've never been there.
that was a cool hunt.
But they closed, so they did that top piece where I walked down that road where we parked the trucks. That area was closed off for the last 3 years.
I would have liked to walk that.
We couldn't drive down there. It is awesome up there. Like, and they took there was an electric fence around that part of the clear cut,
Like where we
and
came
they
from,
had taken
you
that
went
down. And the buck sign was incredible up there. There was rubs and scrapes right along the logging road.
I didn't really have good shooting lanes at all today. I thought.
I thought you had good shooting lanes on your first
I
sit.
had better today.
No, not on the first sit. No, it was thick.
Shit.
I could see a ways, I could see movement, but it would have been tough shooting, really tough shooting. Yesterday, on the last drive yesterday, I would have, I had some pretty baller shooting lanes that day. And see, I think next year, I'll probably carry my 12 gauge iron sights.
You just feel more confident with that.
No, because
With a running
it's
deer?
so it's just so dense in there.
Yeah.
It's tough to pull something up in your scope.
It is.
When it's moving and you don't see, it's so thick. I can knock them down 125, 150 yards pretty easy with a rifle barrel, no problem. I think, and you're never going to get that long of a shot here. I was actually surprised how thick it was. I'm surprised that everybody uses a rifle, to be honest with you. All the locals that I saw were carrying shotguns.
Were they?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now that you say that,
I mean, like the drive the last drive we did, when I'm in the bottom there, I could see using a rifle. There's
Well, but
longer shots.
I
down
think
there.
with that, it's also what you're used to using. Like, I've become very confident pulling my rifle up and acquiring the sight picture very quickly. Whereas with you, Mike, you've always hunted deer with your slug gun with just a bead. So it's super hard to transition from that. Over time you'll get more and more used to it. But I don't think you're wrong in what you're saying.
Well, what's the farthest shot that you can take that anybody took here? Besides, Peter took a shot that was 160 yards, but nobody else shot a deer beyond 50 yards.
I just took a shot at 160.
My buck I shot last year was almost 200 yards.
I took a shot at 200 yesterday, and
there is a lot of those shots out there. We just didn't connect on them. Like, quality shots, I feel like.
Yeah,
at least,
maybe it was just where I was sitting.
Yeah.
But I couldn't even see, like the last drive, I could see maybe 40 yards, maybe. If something was running beyond 40 yards, I wouldn't even known it was there.
Amazing in a lot of these areas too. Wherever you're sitting, if you drop down another shelf, it clears right up.
Yeah, it is. It's so true.
Like Jim yesterday, he was gonna sit where you couldn't see anything. I told him just drop down another shelf there, and I think it would clear up.
You just gotta, like, the problem is like, I always say that, like, oh, what if I drop down here? But, like, you never know if you're dropping down into an area that's too far down, or
Right.
you just, I get that in the back of my mind every once in a while. But I think it's big to have, if you get to an area, like I started in an area where I could shoot probably 200 yards this morning, and trying to learn from what I did yesterday, and right away I'm like, okay, like, I'm gonna get my pack off and figure out an area where I can set my pack down and shoot off my pack if a deer comes through this bottom, because I know they're probably not gonna be running, and if they're running down there, I'm not gonna have a real good shot anyways.
Yeah.
So found an area where I could lay my pack down and get a real good shot if I needed it, and like that was kind of my strategy.
So it was pretty, where you were sitting the first drive, it was pretty steep what you were overlooking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I kind of had a gradual draw down, and it makes it tough.
I would not have wanted to walk down what was in front of me, but there was a nice bench below it, so it ended up being kind of nice. But
I think it'd be great to come down here, September-ish, and just walk all these and figure out areas to sit. You'll have an idea of how much vegetation's around, what will be clearing up. That way when we come down here, you're set up. If you drop down another shelf, you're not too far down.
it's tough because, like, I know Dallas was talking about it today. You come down here and you have a bunch of guys, and you're like, okay, you go here, you go here, you go here, this is what we're doing. And that's kind of what it ends up being. If you can get it to a point where, like, okay, that person has done this job before, you need to get to that point, and it ends up making it a little easier.
Oh, that's a game changer, man.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if I really agree with that, because no one knows everyone else's role or what everyone else is looking at, too. I like the fact that everyone right now kind of knows, like the last drive, Dallas is going down the logging road at the other end and dropping in. Kind of know where he's coming from and what he's doing or what he's seeing.
But I think that's what Danny's saying, is that once you get everybody used to what everyone's doing, then it just becomes like, what, like they say, Billy, go do what you do on this drive. So then I go and I walk the same route that I walk on that drive. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes. Yeah. What I did on the first drive yesterday, I came in that same spot last year, and I knew the area well, and you know what areas to hit, where you can maybe sit, and like different things like that. It's just things.
The next question is, once you tag out, what are you going to do? Because that's going to change your positioning of people.
It's not going to be like robotic. We've got these. We had 6 different, what I would call, drives today, or this weekend, and I would assume those 6 will probably be right back in our back pocket for the next year, because everybody tells us there's no big bucks in Pennsylvania, and we we found a lot.
And
of nice
we
bucks.
missed more bucks. I mean, you missed a nice buck. Yeah, I don't know what that buck looked like. You're the only one that knows what it looked like.
That was nice.
Was it comparable to what some of the other guys shot?
Yeah.
So I mean, this year we got another four good 2.5, maybe 3-year-old bucks, and then Brian and I both shot probably yearling bucks, but just quality deer. I mean, we were seeing bucks on every drive. I mean, I don't think we got skunked at all, did we?
No.
The second or third drive, day one, we
didn't see any bucks on that drive.
Just bear.
Just bear.
Yeah, nobody shot. I don't think anybody shot on that drive, and it's funny because that's always been like the go-to drive.
Yeah.
So I think only one guy in our group didn't. 2 guys in our group did not unload their gun. Did not
Clayton
shoot.
or T.
Yeah.
Tar didn't shoot, right?
Yep. So
Colonel T.
We're gonna keep this going because we're gonna this is gonna be the last of the
Mohicans.
Trip. Yeah. So we are hitting the road. I guess kind of wrapping up the hunt, because now we're headed back to camp and we're gonna celebrate the successes of the hunt. So we, out of our 14 hunters, we shot 6 bucks. So I would say again, for 2 years in a row, we shot 6 bucks. It's pretty awesome. Not a lot of people come together to come down and do these hunts like this, and we're working hard. I mean, we're down. I walked 9 miles today.
Yeah.
Walked 9 miles yesterday, and it had to be close to 9 on the first day because I shot my buck on the first drive and then I walked pretty much the rest of the day. So, almost 30 miles of hiking in 3 days, and most of that was carrying meat on our backs coming out of these ravines and gullies and up these side hills. So, yeah, I mean, super, super successful hunt is my opinion. I'm pumped about it.
I pull up Onyx just about every one of the drives we did, and like the first one today, I wanted to see how far out of the bottom you guys had to come, and it's 500 feet. Like, it was 500 feet top to bottom every one of the drives we did.
Pretty consistent,
basically.
500 from bottom to top.
So the forest roads run the tops of these ridges where we're at in a lot of places. So we're parking on top and kind of hunting down to the bottom and maybe up the other side, or sending guys down to the bottom to work back up. But we're walking a long ways depending on what your job is for that hunt. But
so my last concluding thought, and then we'll go around the truck from this hunt, is that so this is the second year in a row. You okay, Michael?
Michael's a little
warm.
I'm schwitzing.
Yeah, it's hot. And we're all still wearing our clothes.
It's smoking in here. I don't know what.
I want to smoke all the water off me.
Yeah. So this is
I'm literally sweating. It's beating up.
This is the second year in a row that I've gotten a doe tag for this hunt, and I am super happy I did it because I could carry my gun. I shot a buck on the first drive the last 2 years, which I'm super happy for. And
within a half hour.
Within a half hour of starting the hunt, which is awesome.
Both years.
So
I would say that's a pert near doe tip. Definitely want to have
pert near pro tip.
No, pert near doe tip.
What?
I'm thinking
that's a new thing.
You got a lot of crap
like a pro tip, but it's doe. I mean, it's because
you got a lot of crap the last couple of years. I'm thinking a lot more people are going to have doe tags.
Well, that's what everybody said. Everybody said that last year, and then nobody did it. So,
hey, Bill, can you send me a reminder when we need to send in? Because you know what happened? You said we were gonna send them all in together.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I just assumed last year he took care of it for me, so I just assumed he would do it again.
Well, this year was a little busier, but so
don't make excuses.
The deal with
responsibility for your actions.
I don't take ownership of my faults and mistakes. So in PA, it's a little harder because it's not just as simple as going to the store or going to the town hall and getting your doe tag. You have to mail in to the town hall of the area that or I don't know if it's a county clerk or whatever, but you got to mail your application in with the money. So there's like a bunch of legwork that goes into it, and that's what I think it's a hindrance, especially to us outer state.
And stamps keep going up. It's crazy.
I know. That's what, it costs money. Money's time.
33 cents, 34 cents?
No, it's like 47. Maybe more than that.
Yeah,
Gotta
that's
give it the
crazy.
time.
What a racket. So I got a doe tag. So I think it's kind of comical because I get the doe tag and I fill my buck tag right off the bat. And then I'm walking around and it's like until other people start shooting bucks, I feel really uncomfortable even thinking about pulling the trigger on a doe.
As you should. I think that's fair.
It is fair, especially depending on where I am. You know, like the only does I saw after I shot my buck that I had an opportunity at was yesterday afternoon on that last drive we did, and I was the furthest sitter from the. I mean, I was 4.5 miles from the truck, so you know I'm not shooting one of those does because I would be the least favorite person on the entire trip.
I would have not been happy.
No, so that's all I wanted to say is that I'm glad the last 2 years I've gotten a doe tag. I haven't filled it, which I'm kind of bummed about because I'd love to shoot a doe down here. But the opportunities, it's funny because you think, oh my God, I shot my buck on the first drive. I've got basically 3 days left to fill a doe tag, and there's deer all over the place in here. And I really didn't have a single good opportunity to do that. So,
I think if you go into your final day and you got a buck tag, or you filled your buck tag and you have a doe tag, I think it's open season. I wouldn't hesitate to shoot a doe on the final day.
Oh, I would.
If you're disrupting the drive on an earlier day, maybe hold off because there's potential. There's a buck following them, and someone else has the opportunity to get a nice shooter. But final day,
I still think you're not shooting a doe in the bottom of any.
Agreed.
Cow. Like,
Yep.
Right, because it's not
you
like we
would
got
have some mad
you got plenty
fellow
of
friends
meat in the freezer.
or non-friends at that point.
depending on who I'm with. If Tard is within a half a mile, he's told me 2 years in a row, you shoot that doe, friend, and I will help you pack it out. And him and I can handle that doe, no problem, the two of us.
I completely agree.
I would have
But
no
if-
issue helping you either.
If PMH and Robert are sandwiched around you,
Yeah.
you're gonna be.
Oh, well,
buying
Robert will be
drinks.
mad at me regardless. And then PMH, he doesn't even carry a backpack. You know, we could
He can put the tenderloins in his back in his
He carries
pocket.
water, though, right?
carried what?
Doesn't he carry water, snacks?
No, he doesn't.
Nope.
Yeah, that's why
Maybe,
I had to,
maybe
Hey, Bill.
that's truly.
The conditions
He might
have
be carrying
deteriorated
buffer
fairly
alcohol.
quickly. Let's keep both eyes on the road. How about that?
Okay, sorry, Michael.
You're kind of drifting into that ditch and
So, Michael,
Yeah, let's
get your thoughts about your first Pennsylvania hunting trip.
great group of guys. Know what they're doing. Yeah, it was a blast. It was an adventure and totally different type of hunting. I got a lot more confidence going through the 3-day hunt as we progressed and did a few more drives, just kind of getting a little more comfortable with the drives and how everybody interacts with each other and who to take lead from and who to, it was that was really important. But it was a very good group and how everything meshed together. But I had an absolute blast. I was concerned on the way down here. You guys were saying, you might not see many deer. AJ didn't see any deer his first year. I think I probably would have been bummed if that happened, but saw.
They didn't tell you I slept after that.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, saw plenty of deer and had an opportunity to shoot a hoof off, which was a lot of fun, and made some fantastic friends along the way.
Coming back next year?
Yeah, if I'm invited.
Yeah, you're invited.
I'm pretty sure you're invited.
I think you're allowed back, which is good. So,
As long as the hatchet is here, that was a big hit.
Yeah, it was a big hit. I thought I was going to get to use it today. That's why, I spent a lot of time on it last night, making sure she was nice and sharp, and I thought, I was going to get some wax in.
funny
And,
thing, on drive 1, I'm in a spot where everyone is kind of northwest of me and down in the hole, and I couldn't get anybody on the radio, and you were like my only hope, and I was like, man, Mike's got to be able to hear me, and then it comes over my head that Tard's over there, Bob shot a deer, Brian shot a deer. I'm like, Mike probably got a call for the hatchet. Like, he probably got called down to help work
Hatchet,
on the
we
deer
need you.
just for the hatchet in his pack.
I brought it up. I wanted Mike down there with his hatchet.
So, AJ, thoughts on year 3 Pennsylvania hunt?
Well, we're in the same boat, right? This is our third year. I think this is the best out of the 3, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed this the most, except for being soaked this last day. But,
What made it better than the other 2 years?
I got to see more bucks. I mean, literally get to see the white in their eyes. Really helps.
You were staring into their souls.
But yeah,
Do you want to tell your story about today? About the buck that I saw, you ended up seeing too. Why don't you?
oh yeah,
explain that?
he must have been running around, just visiting everyone on the hunt. But
Maybe it was cousin Eddie's.
The little 4-point, right?
yeah, 2-pointer. The other
2-pointer.
side broke off.
He
so it was
wasn't
only
little.
2.
That buck, that was a big. He had a big frame.
Yeah. Even his body, he was a
Yeah,
heavy.
he was
so-
a big deer.
But I think it was funny from a bystander over the radio, because I think yesterday weren't ready for a buck, and so someone radioed, AJ.
Oh yeah, right.
Yesterday?
No,
today.
today.
That was Brad.
Yeah, okay, Brad
Yeah.
radioed, AJ, and you replied, he's not legal. With a little bit of attitude. I got
A little sass.
I got
Because I was pissed. Like, what the fuck? I finally get one to me.
Finally,
I
a deer.
got a little sass on
But
it.
So
it
you
was a
threw a
perfect
snowball
setup
at it.
because there was a log down in front of me. I rested my gun on there as he's coming down from your side, Bill. It must have been like where Tard was too.
Yeah.
He comes down. I'm watching him. Like, perfect. Rested on there. I got the scope on. I could see him, and I'm like, fuck. Only 2 points. I'm like, he's missing his other side. That's got to be the one that you guys were talking about. I'm just watching him as he's walking up to me. He gets within like 20 yards. Snow on the ground there. I'm like pissed. He's turning up towards Brad, who is only 50 yards, 75 yards above me. I'm like, I don't want him to go back into the drive. I'm trying to get him to go by us so no one gets excited anymore with him.
Right.
So I pick up a snowball and I throw it at him from 20 yards away and miss him. And he goes running right towards Brad.
Surprise.
Now he goes running right towards Brad, and then Brad's going, yeah! AJ! Like, he's not legal.
Oh, so that was after you had seen him.
Yeah.
That Brad was young.
Oh.
There was like a group of hemlocks there. That's what I'm saying. Like, where Dallas sits, we can only almost use another pusher on Dallas's side there.
Yeah.
Because I can't really see past those hemlocks.
Yeah.
So he just got by those hemlocks, and that's where Brad was, and he didn't know I could see him.
So I'm going to echo the same thing that AJ said. I think probably best of our 3 years, just because I enjoyed the fun that came from all the hunts we had.
Yeah.
We changed it up every time except for our first and last hunts. So we did all different hunts other than first and last, and it just kind of it makes it fun for me. Like
Yeah, it's a change
yesterday,
of scenery, nothing gets old.
Yesterday was an adventure. Today was an adventure. Our first drive was totally different from where we were any other time. Like, I've never been down that road that we're on today, and the cool thing is we come down here next year and it's like, oh man, like this road's open to traffic now. Like, why don't we try this, or this clear cut's walkable now, or like whatever. It's nice that we can kind of keep doing different stuff year after year, so that's going to keep me coming back definitely. But
I'm also going to start looking more on Onyx during the off season here and seeing how much wind's actually down here, because I feel like there's so many more drives we could do that we haven't even touched, that Bob and Dallas and Brian haven't even.
Like, look at that drive we did yesterday, the last one, the second drive. Nobody has ever been over there before. That was the first time anybody has ever stepped foot in that area, and we produced 2 of the better bucks we've ever shot on this.
But and the reason for that is that was a hike.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's a long. So that's what we got to focus on. Is we got to get deep.
Yeah.
And you know, that's why I said yesterday, I don't think we should ever come back to the trucks, because once you do a drive, you push, you get in, you go deeper. And yeah, you got to huff it out, but at the end of the day, but I mean, that's where you're going to find these deer, especially late in the season. You got to go deep.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what we're here for too. Like that's what is awesome about this hunt is it's like we're talking about it on the way up here. It's like you shoot the first legal buck, because if you want to shoot a deer, that's what you got to shoot, because you're probably not going to get another opportunity to shoot another deer. You're going to get a good opportunity at maybe one deer while you're up here. So take it, capitalize on it. If you don't, that's what happened with me this year. Is I had one shot at one deer at 200 yards,
And you blew it.
and I blew it. Yeah, and I'm not gonna blow it again.
You gave it your all, Danny.
Don't say
Don't
that.
say that.
I
Oh,
said
yeah,
that.
I
I
mean-
said that too. I blew it twice.
I blow a lot.
You blow it a lot.
Excuse
I
me.
blew it a lot.
Whoa.
I do.
So,
Let's go back to your mating noises, Danny. Danny blows it a lot.
no.
So what's for dinner tonight? What's on the menu? We got some
Galumpies.
So yeah,
Galumpies.
if you're Polish, Galumpies. If you're not Polish, pigs in the blanket.
pigs and a bee. Nice,
So
pea
what's
and a bee.
What's in that big crock pot then? Is that just
There's-
potatoes?
I think there's potatoes.
Yeah, it's
in
like
there.
a side.
Oh.
I got some Swedish meatballs. I think so. We got a lot
We're
of
gonna-
time here. I'm pretty
Yeah, we do.
excited about tonight.
We're going to feed them.
I think we should take our time here on dinner. We should
Do we have enough beer?
appetizers.
Oh, there's enough beer.
Are you
Yeah,
sure?
Are you
there's
sure?
A lot of alcohol, and then we got a full 30-pack in the back of the truck still.
and I haven't even touched my beer I brought.
Oh, you little girl.
So I think we get the cheese and crackers out when we get back.
Ooh.
We-
Little social
Maybe some
hour.
cracker bologna.
yes.
Yeah.
Maybe happy hour. Make some hot toddies.
Ooh, man.
Maybe get a little music going. I got my
Yep.
speaker.
Yep. See, it's
I want
be a
to
good
I want to
day.
hear some of Peter's stories. I feel like Peter's
Yeah.
got some real gems of stories. You know, he
I
did
think we should
the
record some of tonight.
well, no, I don't know about that, but he did the flooring for Tom Cruise, and then Tom left to go do a movie, and Nicole Kidman came in and he banged her.
I'm going to get.
But yeah, he banged her right on out.
Hey, I got to hear that story.
Yeah.
all right. As the
asked if her
host of
carpet
your
matches the
podcast here
drapes?
today, I think we're gonna.
Did it what?
As if the carpet matches the drapes. He was replacing the carpet at the time.
Right. Shit, redhead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay,
I
so
don't even know what to say. How do you conclude on that?
that is a concluder. That's the conclusion. Peter Michael Hannes may or may not have had relations with Nicole Kidman. And
Whose carpet matches her drapes? Is that what I gathered on that?
Whose? Her carpet matches.
Whose-
You
yeah,
should
hers.
ask the
Whose?
question. Dale, you
Nicole
should ask the
Kidman, whose
Yeah.
carpet matches her drapes?
should ask the question, and Nicole Kidman's carpet matches her drapes.